Hi everyone and welcome back. This video is about project management and how to get your certification for project management professional or PMP. I just passed the exam with above target marks for all three areas: people, business, and processes. And I wanted to share my experience with you. As you might know, there's a new PMBOK books that explain project management, PMBOK 8, and exams are going to be changing July 3rd. So you can still pass the exam with the previous format, which is available for the next month or so. The way I did it, you normally need to have experience. So I tried some questions here and there. There's a famous YouTube video from David McLachlan, I guess his last name is. I'm not sure. I'll put all the links in the comments part of this video so you can access them. But he has about 200 questions that he solves on the spot on YouTube. And I tried like 10 to 20 of them to see what's my familiarity with the project management. I was doing good in some and not doing good in some others because I had previous experience about like 4.5 or 5 years. And you normally need 36 months of experience for PMP. And normally you don't get audited, but if you get audited, you should be able to provide supporting documents in case it's needed. So what I did some of those questions online, and then I went and decided to take a course because you need 35 hours of education in PMP before being able to take the exam. So what I did, I tried a course on Udemy on sale. It was $28. I didn't like that course at all because it was not explaining things in a nice and easy to understand way. What I found is that David McLachlan, this video is not about David, that's just my experience, and I found that course very useful. I took his course on Udemy for the same price, and that's what a lot of familiarity happened. I was familiar with agile processes because that's what I was working on with some delivery of projects, but I was not really familiar with predictive methods or what they call waterfall. So what happened is that by taking that course, I was familiar with the processes and other information around that methodology as well. And it really helped me to develop a good mindset when it comes to PMP. Now, you might hear it very often that with PMP, it's all about mindset. So sometimes people who have 10 years of project management experience, it's not easy for them to take the course because they did the things in a different way that the PMBOK recommend. So that might be challenging. So if you're at the 36-month milestone, it might be great to take the exam. And even before that, just going through the book is awesome. So the first step I did is I did try to solve 20 questions to see where I really am in the process. And then after the 20 question, I went to complete my 35 hours of PDU in David's course on Udemy on sale. It was $24 or something. The next step I did is that after taking that course, I watched the entire 200 questions from David. I think maybe not the entire 200, maybe 160, 150 of those. So the remaining 50 questions, I didn't solve them or didn't like watch the videos that he was solving. What I did, I was trying to see what the answer is before he answers. And if I was wrong, I was taking notes on the questions, or if there was something new, I was taking notes on the questions. I didn't review any of my notes for the final exam. I just didn't have the time. But after David's course, I downloaded a document known as Third3Rock Notes. It's two type of notes. There's a cheat sheet, which is great for the night before the exam. And then there is the summary of the entire PMBOK and the important things that you might find in exam. So what I did, I went through the extended version, which is about 170 pages. I read that entire part, and I really tried to fully understand what is going on. After that, I purchased a study hall, and a study hall is PMI official learning platform for those who want to take the exam. So I bought the study hall. It has about two tiers. One tier has two mock exams and access to a few other things for 30 days or 90 days. I bought the tier which has 5 mock exams for 90 days, but I only did 2 mock exams. I did the first mock exam and I did the fourth mock exam because I heard somewhere on Reddit that fourth mock exam is actually the hardest. So I wanted to see how I score. I scored 71% and 64% on the other one. And generally, the rule of thumb is that if you're above 60% in those mock exam, you're ready to take the exam. So after doing that, I went and I took the exam. to just get things going. But with the study hall, I also did the practice questions. For the practice questions, I did about 80% of them. My score was ranging from 50% to almost 91%, depending on how many questions you answer. Some of the tests were 3 questions, so if you get like 2 of them wrong, your numbers are really like your correct number will be only 33%, right? So it really depends on what you want to do. And then there's a mini exam section on the study hall, which is about 15 questions per exam. There is 5 full mini exam, and then there are mini exams based on the topic and the subject that you're going to take the exam. I did about 10 to 12 of them. My score mostly was about 50 to 60% on those. On the mini exams, the actual that tested you on all subjects, it was about 60%. And for those who were subject related exams, some of them were falling a little bit behind. They were around 51%, 55%. After doing the study hall, I was not feeling 100% ready. I don't think this is one of those exams that you feel 100% ready because it's very situation based. Even if you go through all the questions, there might be new questions for you, but the concept of the questions are similar. Something goes wrong with the project, something goes wrong with the schedule, something goes wrong with the vendor. A risk turns into an issue. What are you supposed to do? So the situations are kind of the same, but the questions are always based on situations. So if you go through Reddit and experiences of other people, it's one of those exams that you never fully feel ready for it. But that's all the way through. So I did the 2 mock exam. I was like, okay, I want to take the exam. The night before the exam, I took like 2 mini exams as well. And what I did, I went through the Third3Rock notes, the entire cheat sheet notes. And what that did is about 70 pages, and it's a great source for reviewing. I really didn't have the time to review my own notes from the questions that I answered wrong or the notes that I took throughout the courses. I really didn't have the time. And what I did is that the next day I went and sat for the exam. Unfortunately, the exam location, they had a very noisy air conditioning system there. I asked them if they can turn it off. They couldn't. So the first 60 questions, I went with the loud noise in the room. And then I went outside. You can take 2 breaks. And I asked them, and they gave me a headphone, like a construction headphone, that reduced the noise a little bit. But for the exam itself, if you're not familiar, it's an exam with 180 questions and 230 minutes. At 60 questions intervals, you can take 10 minutes break. It shows on the screen. You select whether you want to take the break or not. You leave the room, and then you come back to the room with the help of the proctors. There's no proctor in the actual room, but the proctors bring you to the room, and they normally monitor you with cameras. Overall, it was a good experience. On the second part, I was not sure if I'm going to pass or fail because the questions were getting complicated and I was just not fully sure of the answers. And it's one of the things with the exam, you are never sure. If you read other people's experiences on Reddit, you see the same thing, that they were not sure if they're going to pass or not, but the majority of them pass. What you are supposed to do, or what at least helps me to do, is that I trusted my project management experiences and I trusted what I did and what worked based on the PMBOK mindset in those scenarios. So whenever I was studying, I was trying to link things to my actual experiences, and that really helps to build your mindset. And with that mindset, when you sit the exam, you normally pass the exam very easily. And I think that's a super important thing. Normally, when you take the exam in person in one of those VUE centers, like Pearson centers, you get a pass-fail after the exam. You can ask the receptionist to provide you the letter. It says whether you passed the exam or not, and that's normally how you get it. I heard if you do it online from your home, you might not get it immediately. It takes a few, like 24 to 48 hours to get the results. The official results come 24 hours and 48 hours later as well for those who take it in person, and then you can put the badge on your LinkedIn and other pages and advertise it. But overall, I would say the exam is very interesting. It's very situational based. If you are familiar, for example, with engineering questions on the ethics, it's very similar. You're given a situation, you're supposed to choose the best next action that should be taken. You should also read the questions very carefully, because sometimes questions are not about the next actions. The questions are about what the project manager could do in order to avoid this situation. It really depends on the questions. You should be really paying attention to the question. With the exam itself, I had an extra 50 minutes at the end. I really didn't review my flagged question because I was like reading and answering at the same time. So I was like, okay, in my opinion, this is the best way the project manager should proceed with this situation. And I really didn't change them. I got all the answers right, which was interesting in many ways because there was like 5 to 10 questions that were really interesting to me, and I was not sure on how to solve them. And I don't think I can share them here because you're not supposed to, but it was just a very interesting experience. Overall, I would say that always try to answer the mock questions. It's super helpful. By the way, I didn't review any of my mock questions. I only reviewed my mini exam and practice question answers, and I reviewed them and took notes of those, but never the mock exams. Because personally, to me, the mock exam I get a little bit screen sick when I'm solving questions because there's that voice in your head when you're reading the question. So I get a little bit screen sick. So I really didn't go back. And when I was taking those mock exams, I was taking my time, like answering 20 questions, going to get a coffee or something, and then come back on a weekend to really not force myself to do it all at the same time. I was saving my energy and my mental readiness for the actual exam. In terms of the process that went into this, on how long I studied this, I normally studied on the weekend or afternoon after works, like study for 2, 3 hours or maybe 1 hour and then take a break for 3 days. It was not very consistent. I started somewhere in end of January, early February, and I just took the exam last week in April. So it was 3 months, but I was doing some calculations on the overall study materials that I went through. And I would say it takes you about 2 weeks if you're studying 8 hours per day. So if you're taking 2 weeks off and you want to take the exam before the exam changes, which I heard the changes are not going to be that significant, it's just you're changing the ratio between the 3 areas that you're going to be assessed based on. That's the majority of it, and it's going to be shifting a little bit toward the PMBOK 8. But aside from that, I have not heard that there's any significant changes to it. You can always check the PMI Institute to see how it is. And one more note is on PMI membership. I recommend getting the PMI membership because it's worth it. You get discount on the exam from what I heard. Hopefully it's not changing. And it's very helpful. It pays itself off essentially by the discount that you get on the exam. So definitely do that. It's overall an easy process, but a little bit stressful because the questions are very situation based. So you never know if you are correct or not. But always trust yourself, trust your inner judgment. Make sure that you solve the practice questions. I read on Reddit that the questions, some people like answers 1,000 questions or something. That is great if you really have the mental capacity for it, or if you have the time to do it. Like 1,000 questions is not an easy thing to do. But so far, with like 200 questions from David, I did solve 160 of those, 2 mock questions and practice questions and mini exams in the study hall. I was able to pass the exam in a very comfortable way. And as I said, I had an extra 50 minutes at the end. English is my second language, but I feel very comfortable when speaking English. Sometimes the Persian accent comes out when I'm speaking English, but I feel comfortable. If English is your second language as well, or if you feel that you need more time, then make sure that you time yourself on the mock exam, because it's really something that you need to read the questions with care, and that timing component is important. There's a time counter or clock on your screen, which shows the overall time, the 230 minutes, and it's just counting down. So you can time yourself on the exam as well. So at your home, you can do the same thing on the screen when you're doing the study hall, or if you're not taking the study hall, you're buying something else, you can just time yourself if it doesn't have a timer. That was my overall experience with PMP. I'm going to put all the materials step by step under this video so that you can check them out. It's what worked for me, might not work for you. It depends on what your study material is. I personally am a very visual person. So sometimes you get this extra paper for the exam that you can like write things on. And the exam has a calculator, a digital calculator itself as well, in case you need to like calculate any information. And I'm very visual, so sometimes I had to draw things for the questions that were really complex to see, okay, this is linked to this, and this is like working like this, and I'm going to be taking it like this, and this is my final answer. Depending on what your learning style is or what you like to do or how things work for you, it's very easy to get things going and in a very easy and fast way. As I said, 2 weeks, if you're dedicating full time, if you want to take 2 weeks off of work, you can do that and get the job done before the exam changes. The majority of materials, including a study hall, courses on Udemy, they're all adapting to the new exam style. There's already like notifications and information there. And good things are going to be happening. I heard PMBOK 8 is very interesting. I didn't get the chance to go through the book itself myself yet, but I'll do it soon, and I'll keep you posted on what are the differences and what are the things. And one final note on PMP, whether to take the PMP or not, it's a question for you. In my field, the majority of management positions, it's always written that PMP is considered an asset. So it's an important thing to have it, but maybe in your field, it's not like this. It's really a question to see what you're looking for and what you want to do, whether you want to shift your career toward management or not. It's something for you. But regardless of that, I think taking the project management course, even if you're not sitting the exam, really helps you with your mindset, with how you are working in your work environment, and even understanding the mindset of your management team. If you have like senior management teams or leadership teams, you can get and speak that language when you are pitching an idea or something. So even if you don't want to take the exam, I think it's a good opportunity to learn and develop your own mindset. And maybe sometime in the future you plan to do the project management in your career, and then at that time you will have that experience. I think this was my experience. Hopefully it's helpful to you. If you're planning to take the PMP course, write in the comments. I hope that you enjoyed these videos and they are helpful to you. Thank you so much and have a great day.